Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJ and TV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJ and TV Insiders. It's time for Tuesday Night Live Chat with Brian S. Red and John Young.
You're lagging bad.
I'm so lagging, so I'm going to do this.
One of your 7 cameras? Oh.
This.
John's rebooting.
John's rebooting a camera. Right, that's right. So
he's got 5 of them. I saw the video.
And it didn't take. So we'll have to talk amongst ourselves for a moment here.
Uh-oh.
Good evening and welcome, by the way, for those of you out there in the internet world. There we go. Nice. It is Tuesday night. It is time to talk shop with Jay and Brian. You know, I got to get Jimmy to make us a new intro that we can have Jay's smiling face on there too. Jimmy, if you're watching.
I talked to Jimmy in the chill room the other night.
Excellent. So we'll have to get him to work on that because he can freshen up that intro so we have it. So, gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff we can talk about tonight, and we've already been hitting on it. One of the areas in which I wanted to talk about tonight was tied into actually the video that you were referring to, Brian, before, is we're talking about smaller sound systems. And the idea behind why I wanted to have the smaller sound system talk tonight of systems that could fit in a car and still do a smaller event is that there's a potential after this situation is done, as people are starting to put together their weddings, that they're not going to have the money to have 200 guests anymore. Not that they didn't budget it, for this May event, but they may move the event now to September. And between now and September, they have to live with very little or no income, what have you, depending upon what's happening. Things can change. We have to change. In the video that I did this past weekend, I actually did, my goal this weekend was to get a rise out of DJs. The first video was telling The first video was telling DJs to raise their rates for next year. For some that made sense. That would make sense to how to handle that situation. Then the second video was telling them to cut their pricing in essence. But the idea was to offer a smaller package, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Is those smaller sound systems as part of that. Then the final one is basically to lock things in. It was interesting to see how DJs were. Some of them were really nasty. I ended up deleting.
Look, just before we even go any further, let's put some stuff in perspective. I mean, come on. DJs are an interesting bunch anyway.
Yes.
Lock them in their houses. They're going to get even more interesting. So that's just kind of where we're at right now. I had somebody make a comment on my video, that response that I did to you with the 70s music.
Yep.
Their comment was, we usually like your videos, but you talk too much in this one. I was telling you about the songs.
Yeah, that was...
I'll tell you what, I'll give you your money back. How's that sound?
There
Full
you
refund.
go.
I wrote that as a comment, by the way. Tell you what,
money back.
my bad. I'll give you your money back.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So it's an interesting bunch, so let it just, it's your duck, water off your back.
So if you guys didn't get the chance to see that, I went through the Billboard 70s things. I picked out some songs. Then Brian went through and basically he was a little bit more thorough and then had some of his picks on there. I missed, I think, 8 songs or so. It's like, as you were going through your list today, I'm like, how did I miss that? You missed
more than 8 songs.
There were 8 songs that I would have
on your list.
I would have picked those. There was 8
songs that you would have liked to have picked.
Exactly,
yes.
I would have liked to have had on my list. But no, there were some moments like, what in the world is this that Brian's putting up there? But that's right, it's Brian, and his music tastes are there's the superficial, then there's the level down, and then there's the deep cuts that Brian remembers from.
weren't that deep. They were just different.
Different. Yeah, let's go with that.
Top 100 tracks.
I
How
know,
deep
but
can
it
they
was
be?
some obscure, there were probably like 14-year-old girls at the time who somehow voted it onto the Billboard charts for the year. And somehow Brian knew about that song that was hot with 14-year-old at that
The
particular
song
time.
was huge in Milwaukee in the summer of '74. Don't you understand that?
Yeah, I didn't live here in the summer of 74.
But you would have known if the song was big in Milwaukee than summer of '74 anyway.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So for those
Jeffrey
watching,
Dahmer liked this song.
it was his favorite one to.
He didn't live here in 74 either, but that's okay.
Well, again, see, you knew that. I'm just testing your knowledge.
This is a song to have a snack by. So the music shows, we did a couple of those, and this is probably for the next few weeks. This is kind of an angle we're going to be going to, is more of the music shows and talking that side of things, because we've talked the business side, we've talked that, and now it's time to talk about the tool that we all use and we all love. So we're going to be digging into that, and there'll be discussion in the chill room about that. We're going to be going through the decades and kind of picking some of those. We've done these shows before, but now we're going to revisit those because there's always updating as new movies come out, new songs are trending, what have you. So look for those coming on the channel here, over the channels here for the next few weeks. So is Jay is he tired of listening to us?
No. I'm
I've got free Sirius XM until May 15th. I wanted to see if I could balance the show.
I was going to say, yeah.
We'll catch his Howard Stern.
Howard Stern's on, so that's what I'm trying to make sure.
I wanted to keep, I'm hearing stuff behind me and I didn't want it to bleed over to the mic, so I thought this would be easier to just put this on.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Then I have
Excellent.
the attention of the
focus
show.
here.
So small systems.
Let's talk
That's
about
our
that.
topic tonight.
Let's dig into that. I want to hit that. So the idea is, what I'm envisioning is weddings where we have that 50 to 75 people, where it's basically immediate family or the real close personal friends. We are going to have this happening, whether we see it across the board and at 80% of the events are that, or 20% of the events, it's going to be there. So if we're going to do that, what type of a sound system and a show would you think would fit that type of an event very well?
Dual 18 sub and probably a couple of 12 tops.
And it would
15
fit.
tops.
And that would fit. Yeah, 15 tops.
I think that I love the perspective and I love the thought, but this is one of the taboos of our industry because this is how we always lead with everything when it comes to talking about sound. We say, I want to get a good sound system for up to 200 people. Well, what Brian and I think you can use for 200 people might be vastly different than what reality is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to first define not only the number of people, but the spaces. Because if you're in a really small area, and I think the three of us all agree, the majority of the sound that you need to control at a wedding is for dancing later on. Other than that, you need to just clearly get speeches and background music. You could get away with 2 10-inch tops that have a bass flip, and they might sound great for dancing. I'm going to be dead honest. If I get 75 people or 150, I'm pretty much running the same system. It's 2 10-inch tops and a 15-inch sub. And I don't think I would ever use the 10s without the sub. But if I had a pair of 15s, I've used those for 50 people, 100 people, 200 people. So I think we almost have to approach this as moving forward. DJs have to look at it in a perspective of what do I need to bring versus what do I want to bring. Like I love bringing 2 towers, but I could get away with 1 sub under the table, turned down, and then 2 10s on top.
What I think you're talking about, Jay, is sound objectives. So what you're saying, and you pretty much subscribe to what I subscribe to, and I don't know that John does. I think John likes to go a little more aggressive than I do. But yeah, you don't need all the sounds sometimes to even make an event of 200 people work well. You need to, again, like you said, clearly hear the toasts and speeches and then control your sound on the dance floor. Now, not everybody subscribes to that theory, and we're not going to get everybody to drink this Kool-Aid. It's just not going to happen. All we can do is let them know how we would do it and how it might be possible. What they do with that information is anybody's guess. But, we're trying to help. Right, John?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're trying to help.
No, I totally agree. And
how would we do it is the question, I guess.
I'm going to continue. And I was joking before we went live. I've got this new Geo Metro, not new, it's a 97. but looking at it today, it's only a 2-door, but I'm confident that I could fit an average wedding system in that of 2 10s, a single 15, a coffin, 2 speaker stands, a couple bags of cables, 2 dance lights, and a rock and roll cart, and I'm done. So,
Wait.
I'm not going to see. When I saw the topic for tonight, and I forgot it when I asked you earlier, but I'm really interested to see what changes people are going to make, because I'm not going to make really any great changes. I'm still going to bring the same sort of gear, but with the understanding that I'm not going to add on to it.
Sure.
Like if I had trussing, I'd probably pull that out right away. Because again, it might be overkill with 50 people in a room and this elaborate club setup. But, as part of pulling back, I think we should maybe offer something too. Maybe add a couple lights to your setup and offer them in as it's been a tough year. I want to upgrade your
You're
light.
getting a little ahead of the conversation at this point. We haven't even talked about making the system small yet.
I'm already at the end of the hour.
Yeah, exactly.
You are. You're done.
He's-
5 minutes of 8.
he's-
My clock here says 5 of 8.
He's headed to the chill room now. So okay.
Yeah,
This is a 3D image.
that's really nice. Well, I've thought about with the Mustang before this all happened. There's no reason I couldn't throw a Maui 5 or 2 in the trunk of that thing with either a small mixing board or a tablet with algorithm on it from DJ and go do a car show. I'm already there, just have it in the trunk. And even before that, I mean, everything that I've done, I feel, well, especially since, my disability came about, I'm trying to go smaller. I'm not trying to do big production events. So I never really went that route. So I feel like I'm a little ahead of the curve. Some folks who have decided to go bigger, good for them. There are going to be customers out there for them. But as John is suggesting or has suggested, there may be people who had every intention of going big, but they just can't. Not that they won't, but they can't. And, what can we do? What types of things can we do to not only make a system more compact where we don't have to have roadies and giant cube vans and things, but to make this incredibly economical for the customer where they still get a good DJ, but maybe not all the bells and whistles that you normally get with, a full-size system. Am I right? Is that what we're trying to get at?
Yep, exactly. That we can cut our expenses and cut our time and what have you to be able to offer them something that is different than our regular or our common package.
So
I think for clarity, what would you cut? Why don't we do this? Why don't you tell me your regular package and what you think cutting out of it would be a better deal for the customer and for you?
maybe before we do that, it might be good to try to get this system in a car first. And then we could talk about that, because the first thing you got to do is make it small, because that's the title of the video.
Right.
And as I was looking at this, I'm a big fan of the Evolves. So I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate Evolves into this process. And my regular wedding system right now is using a pair of Evolves and the additional things. And if I'm in a venue where I need a surround sound for this year, I'm planning to use a pair of Evolve 30s. Last year I was using a mismatch of an Evolve 50 and another cabinet. Mm-hmm. So what I was thinking for this situation is that, we do have a little hatchback car, and if I had to do an event an hour or two away, I could take my truck back here that gets 15 miles to a gallon, or I could take that car that can be pushing. Right. It's a hybrid; it can push 40. So sure. My sound system, I think, what I envisioned is taking a single Evolve 50 as my main, and take two Evolve 30s that I can use as basically side fills, and rolling the bass off on those. I think I could get those three completely in, two of them in the back end of the car, and then in essence one in the back seat with the controller, lighting, a very simple light, just an LED light tree, nothing fancy whatsoever, just to have a little wash on the dance floor. And pretty much that's where I'm at. Nothing too elaborate, but
I think I'm the weirdo who already made it small.
You have with your, especially when you kind of jumped. This is into your area.
This is more his wheelhouse than
I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. I've had to, out of necessity. So if if, and this is all speculation, folks, just so you know, we're just trying to prepare for whatever might come at us when this all pops. We're not suggesting this is going to happen. We're saying if this were to happen, what would be the game plan? So we can have these, I guess, strategies at least on the board and thought out. So if it does occur, we can go with it. It's best to be prepared.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't happen, it's really a good idea to be prepared, I think. So
Sure.
I'm stripped down pretty small. I'm using the DJM 450 mixer. Well, I kind of am. I should be using it, and I will be using one again soon. It's a
Sadly,
relatively-
nobody's at the warehouse or anywhere
I
else.
understand. It's a small mixer. It fits in a very small case. It doesn't weigh much. It's a battle mixer.
Mm.
And then I've got, I can bring out the tour pack of 8-light maxis. It's 6 lights that do music mode around the dance floor. It's going to look pretty cool. Not a lot. Easy to do. Compact. You can fit that into a small car or whatever. Then the laptop, whatever the laptop is, how much space does that take up? The Pro Event table, that's a little bulky. I could probably break that down a little bit, do something a little different that's a little smaller to fit into a vehicle. Or maybe it's a situation where I come up with a really good way to dress an existing table at a venue so I don't have to bring a Pro Event table. Maybe that's a big saver for me right there.
Mm-hmm. I
don't like doing it, but maybe that's something that could be done. Or I could bring along it's a little shallow. They're not very deep. Those facet tables are so shallow. I think they're only 18 inches deep.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, something like that. 18 by about 40, or it's an odd size, so it's under
Right.
the 2 foot by 4
Yeah,
foot.
and then your typical banquet table, your 6-foot banquet is 24 inches deep.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference when you're trying to get everything kind of sat on there. Yeah, it's pretty tiny as it is. So I think I can just carry on as I am. Having said that, I've invested in, getting these Maui 5 Goes and having them available for, like remote ceremonies and things. But geez, you can do a small event with them. I've done it. And I guess the other reason that I've always kind of put my money on this particular scenario where maybe we're going to have to, look at doing these smaller rigs is because for some reason, all of my weddings keep getting progressively smaller and smaller.
Right.
I don't know if you guys are experiencing that or not, but I've been experiencing it before any of this happened. There was no financial crisis happening. There was no, stay-at-home order, and it was still happening. It was just a trend. And maybe, and again, all speculation, maybe smaller events are the future of our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could be.
And if that's the case, then we should think smaller footprints because we don't want to be, I don't know, I feel like we don't want to be an eyesore. We want to be compact. We want to kind of blend, especially if we don't need all this power. Why bring all this power? I know people like bass. I understand. I do too. But I also understand that, how much bass I need. I had somebody ask me today, a little off topic, and I'll shut up after this. But somebody asked me today, hey, look, I'm a bass head. I like concert sound. Should I get a big DJ PA system for my home system? And I gave him a real simple answer. I said, think of a PA like a pair of shoes. They got to fit your feet. And it's the same thing with the PA fitting into a room. You don't want anything too big. You definitely don't want too small. You want something that's just right
Mm-hmm.
and fits those objectives. If you're too big, it's going to be an ear bleeder. And, why go big if you don't need to? So, I don't know. That's my riff on that. Now, speaking of the Metro, though. Speaking of the Metro, real quick, Jay.
Yeah.
What year is that Metro?
97.
Okay.
So it's the 4-cylinder too. It's the 1.3, not the 3-cylinder.
Well, Stevie's mother's ex-husband, before I showed up, I got along with him fine, by the way. He had a handyman / I guess landscaping service, and it was called Metro Services. And the reason he called it Metro Services is because his parents lent him enough money to buy a brand new Geo Metro, and he held all of his equipment in the back of that Geo Metro, all of his, whatever he had, rakes and shovels and just tools.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
didn't have a truck. He did it in the Geo Metro. So you can put a lot in those little cars, because he used to put a lot in those little cars. I was the guy he called when he had to rake leaves in fall, because we could put them in the back of the pickup. You put the rakes in, but not the leaves.
Right.
So
No, I saw a guy on YouTube the other day that took the front seat out on the passenger side. He used to do deliveries, and he had the 3-cylinder because it would get 45 miles to the gallon. And he set it up with a sleeping bag. So if he was somewhere where he didn't want to drive back that night, he had covers for all the glass,
mhm.
and he would roll out the sleeping bag and sleep. Then get up
Yeah.
in the morning and go about his day.
Very,
I'm like,
very utilitarian.
yeah,
No.
because it's tiny compared to
Yeah,
the van.
they're
It's
little. They're
tiny.
little guys. I could fit it in the
Yeah.
bed of my Silverado.
Yeah, you
Now,
could.
when I built my first DJ system, I built it to fit in my 2-door 78 Cutlass. So whenever I went and I looked at an amp rack, I asked myself, can I fit this in the car? If I can't fit it in the car, I don't care how much it costs, I can't use it. So forget it.
But that's the old. I did the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to realize, I bought my Sebring convertible in 2000
Mm-hmm.
and stopped actively using it for gigs in 2007. So I went 7 years, like 50 to 70 weddings a year and events
Mm-hmm.
out of a convertible. And the game was the 2 GAS speakers sat in the back.
Yeah.
The coffin sat on the floor in the back seat with the speaker stands, with 2 lights stacked between the speakers, and then the trunk. I never once had an issue. And I had a Mazda 626. Because the van, the kids were little, I wouldn't take the van away from Michelle because I thought she was safer in the van with the kids.
Right.
The only downside on the Mazda was I had the 3 rear windows tinted limo, so you couldn't see in at all. I would go do a gig, and then driving home, I would go through the border checkpoint, and they would always stop me. Like, because normally they just wave you right through. They slow you down on the 15 freeway, and they look at you and they wave you through. But they would stop me and be like, put your rear windows down. And I'd put them down. I'm like, oh, I just did a wedding. I'm a DJ. And they'd be like, oh, okay, go ahead. Because the car would be like kind of low in the back.
What do you got back there?
Yeah, literally. So I learned to, every time I drove home at night, if I got up there and they were border patrol was out checking, I would just drop all the windows as I drove up, and they would do this and be like,
Sure.
because I'd done a guy's wedding too. I think they may have said something and it got back to him. But it's funny you say about the trends. I did a 350 person wedding maybe 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last wedding I did over 300. I did one 200 plus wedding last year. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I haven't broken like 170. They're at least out here. They're all like 80 to 150.
That
the sweet
seems
spot is about 100 to 130.
I'm average between 120 and just under 100 lately.
Yeah.
I do, and I say do in present tense.
Right.
I do have one booked this summer for 275.
Right. I don't have anything in the books this year for over 200. I don't have anything. The closest I have is a 180.
One like that.
Right.
So,
But I and I'm listening to what you're saying, and up until the Express 10s, and you and I talk all the time. I was looking at the RCF 10s and the K10s and the 10s because I started noticing my 15-inch JBLs, as great a speaker as they are, they're just really big speakers.
Yeah.
And they have that footprint of being really big. Now, I say that with the understanding that I'm on a venue where I have to use those for dancing. And then I have a separate system set up for dinner with a 10-inch. But it's an outside residential area, no subs. So I got to go all my career without needing or having to have a sub. Now that I have the 10s and the 15-inch sub, that'll pretty much be my system moving forward. I could put it in Sebring, in the Mazda, whatever. I don't know that people are going to have to get new cars for gigs, or if they're going to say get rid of their van that they have their trussing in, or get rid of their trailer that they have all their stuff in, and then go to the small cars. But I did a video years ago when the van broke down about using the Chrysler Sebring.
Yep,
I did a wedding in February, this past February 4th. I had to rent a car I had a brand new Chevy Impala from Hertz. I put a 15-inch sub, two 10-inch Express in the back seat, the coffin, rock and roll computer bag in the front, and then everything else in the trunk. It was a wedding of 160 people. Great time, great video, everything. But everything fit in a Chevy Impala. And I kind of drove away that night thinking, I guess I don't really need to get a commercial van.
I think the most, I'm listening to what you're saying, Jay, and I went with 10-inch speakers as well when I first went micro because it's all I could physically lift.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I went with that. And then I got the 12-inch sub to, I guess, give me a little bit of low end. But if you can, and John, see, I'm curious as if you are with me on this or not. I think the most versatile speaker you can own is a 12-inch two-way top cabinet.
I would say so.
I'm with you on that too.
Yeah, I think so. Because there have been
the 15's big, the 10 is small, so you need a sub with it.
Right.
But if you've got a 12-inch top cabinet, for what we do, as wedding DJs, you probably don't need a subwoofer.
I think
so you don't have to worry about carrying it.
Yeah, I think there's many situations where two 12-inch tops could easily do the event. You're not going to have the chest pounding bass that you would have with that 15, but I don't think you're going to have people coming up and saying, hey,
where's the bass?
Yeah. You may have some younger people who would like more, but
you look at the size difference. Now take the measurements of two standard 12-inch speakers versus two 10s and a 15-inch sub. I mean, I have a ZLXA I bought because of Brian's recommendation. I have that EV sub he used, the 12-inch.
Mm-hmm.
I have it out in the garage with a 15-inch Express sitting on top of it. The 15-inch Express is like this much bigger all around. It's not.
It's going to make a difference in a car.
It is.
Sometimes.
But when you look at it, I put my 15-inch JBL against my sub. They're pretty much the exact same all around, off by an inch or so. So fitting it in the back seat of a car, they're both running the same way. They're taking up one passenger seat.
Okay.
The 10s can sit in front of each other, and then you can put more stuff. I think the bigger issue is unless you're accustomed to carrying multiple stacks or arrays, and I hate to say it, but I know a lot of people that use two subs, two tops because of the linear look of it. I think that needs to go away a little bit, maybe. Maybe you could get away with the sub under the chain. People are very impressed at my system when they hear it and it's got all this bass, but they only see the two tops.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
People love that illusion of, man, it sounds great. Where's it all coming from? They never contemplate, I put something under the table. Same with facades. They never contemplate, maybe the speaker's behind the facade.
There's 75 different combinations you can do to fit this stuff in your car. I mean,
absolutely.
It's just a matter of, thinking about the tools that are in front of you. You have things like the Evolve 30Ms, you have things like the Evolve 50s, you have 12-inch top cabinets, and then it's just a matter of, putting together a clever, effective light show. And you've got it. Maybe now, since we've determined that there's no real answer to this, there's a lot of different combinations you can use, and maybe reach out later or check out some videos on building small systems to find out what might work for you if that's something you're considering. Maybe now's the time to answer the question Jay was asking earlier, which is, what else do we do to bring this down to a budget price?
Mm-hmm.
What do we not offer that we would normally offer with our premium services? John.
Well, and I mean, and I understand why John got grief on the video, because we're walking, we've all now just stepped outside of the fence.
Poking the badger with a sharp stick.
Well, yeah, but we are too, to a certain extent, because we're talking about DJs, their beloved trust towers and huge movers and their money. So, I said this off air and I'll say it on air. I think it's going to come down to being proactive about the problems this year and maybe getting in front of it by saying, I know things are tough going forward, but I want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end to make sure that your event's awesome. I don't know if we talked about it when we met, but I have a $400 upgrade for this massive lighting package. because of all the problems, and I know you've had to move your date, my gift to you is I'm going to now include that, because if somebody hears they're getting a $400 upgrade for free, they're probably less likely to call you back and go, hey man, we need to cut the price.
Well,
And
John,
I'm
what were
doing
you
it as a
thinking?
trick, but you know,
I'm curious as to where you were going with.
Yeah, I don't really foresee in my personal situation many people wanting to change from their current package that I have been selling, and probably part of that is that I think I've only got one wedding that was a that was the whole bells and whistles thing that was in that 4,000 range. Most of the
Oh,
weddings are
Jesus. I underestimated your price.
so most of,
whoa, wait a second.
I thought it was like 3,000.
I thought he was up in Boonesville getting like $800, $4,000.
Well, so
No,
that's
$2.
most of the shows that are going that have been are more the simple this year, and they're falling in around at 2,000 for the show up and play type of a thing. I don't foresee many of them really wanting to change too terribly much, but to fill in some dates and such when we do get these calls, because most of the time, as we've been sitting here, it's like, I've got enough work in the summer. I've got a couple of May, a couple of June. I haven't been looking at that empty schedule, so I haven't done anything. So what I was looking at is like, okay, will the people who are calling, the majority of the people now that are trying to rebook because their DJ couldn't do it or what have you, are they going to be coming in as at the same financial level that they were 6 months ago? Are they going to be down, or where are they going to be? And I really think that we're going to have people coming who are going to be down. So now it becomes what do we do? And instead of offering the $2,000 package for wedding services, so maybe now we're scaling back, maybe not doing some of the face-to-face planning time. We're cutting the prep time down a little bit.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. And streamline it.
Streamline it, really making it so we can still do some things. I mean, just from my
First
perspective.
dance, father, daughter, mother, son, tell me what they are.
Yeah,
email to me.
To a point, and even just the meeting this way on Zoom, as opposed to, for me, I have to drive an hour to go meet with somebody. So if I'm driving an hour and we meet for an hour, and I've got 3 hours of my day minimum shot, whereas if I can meet and we talk on Zoom for half an hour, it's 5 minutes out to that kind of a thing. So there's ways I can save my time and such, which I can then turn around and make it so I don't have to charge as much. The other option is going with a smaller system, which again is saving time. When I'm saving gas a little bit, but really saving that setup and tear down time. And I'm also not, because a lot of weddings, it used to be that they would want to go till midnight or 1 in the morning. It was very common. Many of them are starting to end earlier. So why, if I'm going to sell the service, now let's say I'm going to go and have it where my show is out, maybe I'm going to offer a $1,200 until 10 o'clock package.
Yeah, sure.
And then if they want to go overtime beyond that, they can certainly do that. But
a la carte.
To a point, I can do that, and I can make it less expensive.
Sure. So there are little things that you can do.
Yeah, little things to do, and not to be giving away the farm in essence, or giving away everything, or making it to the point where it's not worth my time to be doing.
Right.
But yet I want to try to maximize the dollars per hour that I have invested in the event.
Do you feel like that you're going to be able to do these types of events without any assistance? Without paying a roadie kind of thing?
Exactly, yeah, because when we start doing some of the larger stuff and we need to have people in different spots doing different components, one person doing the photo bench side of things and making sure that the things are being streamed up on the screens properly, and then for the introductions and when we're doing some of that custom work, I need to have someone one of our staff at the door doing that and handling some of the different aspects. Or when I'm officiating, I've got a couple of events I'm officiating, and I need to have a second person for that.
I didn't know you did that.
So yeah, it's just a lot of little pieces.
I didn't know you were. So we got Pastor Jay and Pastor John.
Yeah, but
I'm the only one who's not a pastor.
Jay probably actually,
20 years.
He can actually go and give the sermon and change the hearts.
I can wing it up as I go.
I'll just be the heathen Brian. How's that?
There you go. We need a pagan in the group. Right?
A pagan.
I got to say this, and I think that's the beauty of this discussion we have, and I'll make it as quick as I can if possible.
Okay, 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. One, I think moving forward, we as a group, collectively as DJs, need to realize that what you're saying, John, is 100% true, because what we're going to run into is the bride that hired me gave me her non-refundable retainer of $300, $400, $500. I can't fill her date. She moves on from me, so she's now out $300, $400, $500. She calls you, you offer $2,000. In her eyes, she's out $2,500 for the DJ that originally only cost her $1,700, $1,800. That's going to sting us. So I think, one, I've already gotten, and I've mentioned it, I think, I've gotten emails going with a group of different DJs saying, if you had a date and you can't cover the postponement date, let one of us know, sell us to the client. We'll take what they owe you and then move something of the deposit to us to keep the image of the DJ going. I'm not going to discount. My clients are my lifeline. I'm getting more hits from a client I did last year than I am from a venue or something else.
Yep.
If I have to drive an hour to meet with you for an hour, to drive home for an hour, to me, that's the cost of my business. That's just something that I don't mind, and I understand it's who I am, because I want to get in front of you. Zoom is great, but I think going forward, we should quietly have these packages and do a case by case and
absolutely
prepared, but almost, I almost think it should be what out here, my average weddings run 5 to 7 hours. I think moving forward, if you get someone who's hurting and has had a rough time with the COVID, say to them, you've got 90 people. I'm offering a 5-hour package. It comes with some dance lights, a great sound system, and you can have it for $1,200. But it stops at 5 hours. If you want to extend it, it's $300 an hour after that.
Yeah, however you want to structure
Right,
it.
yeah.
Just have an offering.
So I almost think it's a combination of everything.
No,
it's doing it the way John said about maybe I'll offer it till 10. And that really sounded good to me, because it made it sound like, well, wait a second. Now you're not taking away. You're just putting it in a nice box and saying, here's this option.
You're doing less and you're still making a profit. You're not giving anything away. And that was the point that I was trying to get across in my video. If anybody had selective hearing on John's, because that's what he was saying. So I tried to say it more clear, and I probably didn't even do it clear enough.
I mean, I'm wondering moving forward what people are going to do gear wise if they were considering going up, if they're going to stay where they are, or how they're going to maximize what they already own. And somebody like Brian who's done videos on, hey, do you have an old Vertigo in the garage? Point it up at the wall behind you. So I'm wondering if you can give a client a different package, but still utilize some of the things, because let's face it, if you own it and it's sitting in a shed, you're not losing money on it. You already paid for it.
If you already own it,
that's different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think John's suggesting everybody goes out and buys a small rig. I think what John's suggesting.
No, I'm trying to
have and scale it down.
Right. What he thinks. What if any? Like, maybe we could do lights real quick. Like, scale down, John. Are we talking a couple lights on speaker stands, or are we talking a bar effect, or you just thinking maybe no lights at all?
It's going to vary, and I do quite a few shows with no lights at all, and that's one of the basically differentiations between two of my packages is the lighting and some of the planning side of it.
Wow.
But
okay,
I'm thinking, if I were to do that car type show, I've got my duffel bag that has those little Bluetooth Chauvet battery powered lights. I can throw those in there, get there, dunk, 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 and they're fast setup, and I'm done, and I'm on my cell phone, which is very similar to what Brian's got right there. You have those
with the A-flap.
Yep.
There's two well, it doesn't matter what brand it is, but what I will tell you is the boxes are identical. I've got two of them. One of them has 6 maxis. One of them has 12 cans.
Right.
This is a lot smaller than a T-bar and a bunch of stuff on that.
And a tree.
Oh,
and everything.
absolutely.
Yep.
So if this is easy. This isn't hard.
No, I think the potential is there. The problem,
pretty simple.
The problem is this: you got $6,000 worth of lights.
Well, no, I'm not saying that.
Like,
no,
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, just bring a smaller version of what you have.
right.
If you have T-bar lights, then use them. If you have 6 cases of those, bring one. It's going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying. It's
No. I
you can
totally
make this
get that.
compact.
I just think at the end of the day, you need to always present the best you that you have to offer to a client, because that's the difference maker. I mean, we're all playing the same songs, we're all
Sure.
saying the same things, but at the end of the day, your personality, your skill, your talent, and that little extra, I'm considering buying 2 more of the Chave wash effects. These are small little lights.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them are really good. My vision is 4 of them would be amazing. And I'm out $600 total on 4 lights for a light show. To me, is great value, because I can look at that as the addition I put in and say, you know what? I don't normally put lights with this show, but for you guys, I'm going to add these lights, and you have a video of these things going off. It's like, whoa. Because I think so many of us are now doing the truss and the totem and all that stuff. I think that's the first area you're going to see pull back a little.
I've gotten away from that. I mean, quite a bit in the last few years. But yeah, I mean, whatever works for you. I don't think that I want to suggest that anybody gives too much away for free.
Right.
What I want to suggest is that you don't sell yourself short, but you don't have to. Just because somebody doesn't have the budget for what you want to do doesn't mean you have to go out and provide your premium service for them at a budget price.
Right.
Would provide something for them, cut corners somewhere, make it work, so you don't have to pass up on the client.
No, I
Because
totally
this
understand.
may
that.
be the norm. Speculative. That's a speculative statement. It may be the norm.
Yeah,
We don't know.
And I'm not looking at the comments on purpose, because I get the distinct impression, if they haven't already started, if it's not this round, it'll be the next round that will say, then explain your value to the client, so they're not spending $1,200 on a
See,
vegetable platter.
And I think that's you kind of alluded to that as you were in a couple of minutes ago, Jay, as you talked about the selling of you, in essence, and you were kind of headed there, and then you dropped back into talking gear again. I mean,
Wait a second, I started something and didn't completely finish my
No, surely not.
It's being in the house so much.
yeah, actually, that's exactly what you did.
Wow.
Calendar,
Shocker.
write it down. Write it on a calendar.
Get the date.
But the
Get
idea
the date and time. Oh, look at squirrel.
This is one of the concerns that we, as whenever we've had this discussion about trimming things back at any point in time in the history of this, is we've always been like, well, what happens if somebody sees it this year and they want, and then next year they would see that and they wouldn't hire me because they didn't see a light show, or they didn't see this or didn't see that. And the idea is that I'm selling me, Brian's selling Brian, and Jay, you're selling we're what they're buying. And
Right.
what the tools we use, as long as it's, we focus on us and the personality and what we bring, and we bring that fun.
I agree.
I don't know if it's going to matter too much for a wedding if I'm bringing 1 Evolve or 6 Evolves. Really, it won't matter, because if I'm doing my job right and I am engaging that audience and having fun and being in the moment with them, the rest of it just really doesn't matter. It's just me finding a way to make it so that it's worth my time, and it's within their financial means to have me there. Is really kind of how I've been putting this in my head as we're kind of putting these ideas together in preparation for something that we may or may not have to be thinking about in 3 to 6 months.
All speculative. We don't know.
And you brought it up, and Brian mentioned it, but John, you set the tone for this, and I think I'm going to mention it again, because we get so stuck on the price. We're talking about a speculative area of time, not moving forward together. We're talking about, hey, this summer, this fall might be like this, not next year, the year after the year, because everybody's on this, I'm constantly climbing. I can't afford to go backwards. But we're talking about how to react to the market and help the client the best we can.
It's just being proactive. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen. No, we're not suggesting this is going to be what happens, or this is going to be the norm. We aren't suggesting when it's going to pop, but I think we can be pretty confident in saying it will eventually pop.
Yeah.
And unless an asteroid hits us or something, this is going to be over eventually. We're going to be back to work at some capacity. What capacity? We don't know.
Right.
Could be the same, could be different. So, now, I mean, geez, even with the music I'm talking about, we're not doing anything else right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're just sitting here. So we can at least think about it and think about strategies that we can put in place just in case. I mean, be ready for anything.
What are your thoughts for the two of you? Because I've already started doing this with some of my clients, getting in front of the maybe we shouldn't do it this year, maybe let's change everything, by being the proactive and saying to them, I'm going to now include this that I wasn't including before because now the value goes up. And it's more of a way of working together because we're all going forward, and they may at the end of the night look at it and say, wow, this looked so much better. I can't believe this. Thank you so much. Click, 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 or whatever. But it's not being done for that reason. It's being more for, because I think vendor, I mean,
That's what John was talking about earlier.
Right. But I'm already hearing from vendors who are saying to clients, if you want to postpone, you have 6 months.
I don't think I
anything
have.
over that, I take your money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever worked with anybody who really had this big issue with the size of my speakers or the light show or anything else. They just like the performance.
Mm-hmm.
If it
Right, but you're talking
the room,
after
you know.
that.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
saying
that's all that
before
matters,
that.
really.
Coming in and saying, I know I was offering you dinner, but now I'm going to give you dessert too.
I don't know that the clients really. Because I know that it's hard when you're so close to the gear part of it, and that whole narrative that goes along with it. I'm a victim of that too, and I say victim because I think we are victims of it. The clients, I don't think, give a shit as long as we're playing music and it sounds good and it looks good. I really don't think they care. Yeah, I want reliable quality gear. I have preferences of things that I enjoy and I like working with, but when it comes to the client, I don't think they're that hung up on it. I think they just want something that goes flashy, doesn't blind anybody, sounds okay, doesn't make anybody deaf, and somebody that plays some good music and knows what to say on a microphone. Oh, and that's what we already do.
Right,
we already
100%. I'm taking my lead from Sirius, from other companies that are coming out of the gate and saying, things are tough now. We're going to give you this to help you get through it, but we're going to make it long enough term that maybe down the road something else comes out of it. And I just looked at that and said, wow.
That's Sirius didn't give me a break on anything.
Yeah, and I don't know if we really. Yeah, I don't really know if we really need to do that from our perspective. I mean, if we have something booked this year and they have to move the date, I think just really move. If we allow them to move the date till 2021 without any additional charges or anything, and just that comfortable and confidence that they're going to have because they're okay, we booked this person and they're going to stay with me. I think that's a value enough in the process. And then if a person has got that getting in touch with them a couple of times and helping them, sharing ideas, tips, whatever, there's the value. Having to give, putting, upgrading the lighting or something. I wonder if that almost is going to devalue the perception of us, because they've hired you because they wanted Jay Brannan to do the show. They didn't hire you because they wanted the cheapest guy in the block. And then I've always struggled with that, because there have been times where that gut response is like, oh my gosh, I got to do something to make this. What can I throw in? Hey, I got this Ginsu knife set here, that kind of a thing.
And I totally understand that.
Yeah, and so I don't think that that's going to be. The places we may have is where we have someone who has booked the $2,000 event, and they need to go to a Friday night because they're trying to cut money across. And in those situations, we can either choose to say, no, I'm sorry, this is it, and then they might have to find someone else, or we can try to drop our prices or something to that effect. But I think that, as Brian mentioned, it's a case-by-case situation. We're going to have to deal with it and just have thought through it a little bit, so it isn't going to take us by surprise. But I don't think we need to give the farm away. I don't think
it's a massive thing, but Brian just carried a small little case in there, and that's what I'm kind of talking about. I'm not talking about rolling in with like, oh, here's this massive thing. I'm just looking at it because the calls I get from my clients are the panic calls of like, oh my God, here's 3 dates. When are you available? I'm like, oh, I'm good on these 2. Just let me know. We'll work this out. And I just decided on my own, like, you know what? The difference between me picking up a small case and putting it in the van or not is of nothing more than making me look good at the event. And if they mention it to one client down the road, maybe that's enough. So I just thought, I'll just be that guy that says, hey, by the way, I'm just going to include these few lights over here. I think it'll really enhance things, and I want to make sure your day is great because I know you're really looking forward to it, and it's been a tough time.
If it's easy and
Yeah.
you already own
it was.
I think, I do it a lot, and I've talked about this before with the head table up lighting.
Right. That's
Take
that's
my
more
cue
or less
from you
what I'm
with
talking
3
about.
lights.
I'm not
I mean,
saying
that's
like you're
3
giving
lights.
50 lights. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got nothing in on that. You can just you own them already. Just put them there.
Right.
So that's fine. Hey, look, I just threw this in for you.
Yeah.
And maybe they get some pictures. Oh, the DJ did that. Oh, wow.
I just think you always want to, John, you always want to look like, to me, in my experience over the years, is you want to look like the solution and not the problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
If they go to Friday from Saturday, and I've talked to 5 or 6 DJs who are like, they're still paying the same, or I'm not giving them Saturdays in 2021. It's not fair to me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
none of this is fair. It's not about what's fair or right. It's that this is just the reality. I mean, that's, you signed the contract, you made the arrangements, you have 2 choices. And this is just me.
Mm-hmm.
You do what you said in the best of your ability, or you don't. And when you don't get upset at the bad reviews. Don't get upset at the bad talk. Don't get upset at the screaming and yelling.
Yep.
Because that's what can come out of it.
Well,
This
the
is
good news here,
their big day.
the really good news here is that Day and Night DJs in the comment section says, I agree with you, Jay, no matter what others think.
Who's
So
day
you
and night? Is that
think-
Scott?
You can sleep well
John.
tonight.
I can. Who's day and night? Scott? Mike?
I don't know.
Kim?
Who's Day and Night, John?
I think it's John.
John?
Oh.
Okay.
I think-
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there
He's
you
a
go.
great human being. An amazing man. And quite handsome and intelligent on top of
Yeah.
it.
Really? I don't know. I thought he was a little off. Agree with Jay?
Well,
I think
There's something wrong with them,
it's-
but let's just be
what?
nice
Up
to
till
all of
now,
our
it's been the
viewers.
straw in the teeth for John Young. Mr. Nice Guy. He's up there doing his thing in the woods. Now, all of a sudden, I find out he's loaded with cash, and he's like, "Screw you, Brian. You're not getting anything out of me. The hell with you. I got this Radio Shack radio. That's what you get for your money."
yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, just like, we should provide a budget service instead of $20,000. Let's try to do something for them for 18.
Yeah.
Because we care.
I'm sorry. You want to cut things back? Here, talk to DJ Hand. I always thought he was just out doing stuff in the woods and building igloos for helpers, and who knew? No idea what's going on. This is turning into like
capitalist.
Fargo.
Yeah, he's a capitalist. He's got like a compound up there.
Well, now we know.
Yeah, we know.
Now we know. Is that a shotgun behind you? Oh, never mind.
Yes, it's over here. Sorry, I'm at the
Leaning
door.
against the Bible.
Yeah, it's
The
right.
What does it say? Don't tread on me.
And then there's the the whiskey still on the other side there, but we're not going to talk
In
about
Nice.
the jug
that. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
now there's a
with the
reason
3
for it.
X's on it.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
With the Pogues singing whiskey in the jar behind him.
Well, gang.
No, you know what?
Off the rails.
That's what I love about this industry and about the dialect and dialogues, especially chill room like this. This is the kind of conversations we're having. This is the kind of thing we have to go through, because I think, sadly, I'll be dead and gone before it ever happens, but we're not licensed. We're not unionized. We're not enough of a collective group to go forward as a group. We have to go forward as each other. And
we're artists. Artists do their own thing.
There you go.
Yeah, but we do it really well to screw each other, Brian. We're our own worst enemies.
Some
most
do.
times.
But you know what? And I've said this before. I'm not competing with anybody. I never have. I'm not
It's
looking
very
over my
difficult
shoulder.
to maintain a great attitude of something and a level of professionalism when the people around you that do the same thing you do don't.
Yeah,
Because it's
well,
very difficult. It's the one bad apple concept. And I don't know many people that aren't in the same boat as us. They want to do right by their clients. They
Yep.
want to do the best job they can.
sure.
But money always gets in the way. Hey, money gets in the way. Ask Prince.
Money don't matter tonight.
No, not tonight. Sure didn't matter yesterday.
Alrighty,
When
on
you
that
thought you had
note-
more than enough.
on that
When it
note,
all flies and goes away.
We I just put the link to the chill room in the chat. You guys can grab that to jump out there. The chill room is open pretty much 24/7. There's a little bit more to get into it now because of the whole Zoom security thing. So you guys can go and you'll have to register. But if you use the same browser each time that you do, type in the djntv.com/chill, it will propagate that information, so you won't have to type it in each time. So it will be a little quicker.
And once again, John will not be joining us because he's way too cool for that.
I've got
Yeah.
to head in and get kids to bed.
He's got to
'cause it's-
count his money.
Yeah, exactly. I've got at least 50 cents sitting here somewhere, maybe.
1,000,000 2, 1,000,000 3.
Yes, I've got the the big compound on the other side. I'm going to go swim in the money for a while. It'll be great.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for being with us.
She's getting married.
It works so well.
Thank you, John.
So thanks guys for the chat tonight, and thank you guys for being with us again. The chill room's available. Go check it out, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.